Preseason in the books. Hard decisions for all of us. Obviously this is the hardest part for coaches. Really the hardest part that you do when you go through this process of eliminating people off your team and doing those things, the toughest things for a coach in the front office. So got to get those things done the next couple of days. And with that, I'll open up questions.
Yeah, Coach, how do you feel the second team played? I'm sorry.
I thought they played
defense,
physical and
yeah.
tough. I heard the question. You got a nice deep voice from me. I thought they played physical and tough. They came out, they played against that first crew for the Jaguars, and they did some nice things early, standing up, really going out there and playing the right way. And you never want to call them the second team. It was the guys that we put out there today. And the guys that we went out there, put out today, played tough and physical for us, trying to define some of those roles, trying to form the bottom of our roster. And we got some tough decisions, like I said. When you go back and look at it individually, you'll always find things that you want to see. You always find things that you don't. And we'll do those things every time we go out and play.
And could you discuss the camp that Mouton has had? Muton, he said it was pronounced that way. 14 tackles today and showing up in every game he's played, I believe.
I really don't think he's defining just today. I think it's been defined, throughout the whole process since I've been back. Watching him in OTA days learn what we do and how we do it. Watching him put his pads on and become a really physical player in practice. And then watching him go to some of these games and lead our team the right way. And I think those are the most important things that you want to do when you talk about players. He plays with great energy. He plays with great passion. He loves the game. You can feel his grit and his effort all the time, whether it's in the locker room, whether you're walking by him in the lunchroom, whatever the case may be. He's a passionate young man that you cheer for all the time. And those are the kind of guys you want to work with.
Yeah, hey, Coach, how do you feel about the last practice for training camp, and how do you plan on carrying that momentum into the regular season?
Are you talking about the scrimmage that we had?
Yes.
I was extremely ecstatic about the scrimmage. I mean, it was a physical, competitive, highly fun environment that you guys got a chance to go out there and watch, and I know you guys really appreciated that day. We got a chance to get our owner out, and I kicked him off the field once or twice, but he couldn't stay off the field. He was just out there too far, but they did a nice job of really going out there and making it a game-like situation for those guys who did not have helmets on. So I forget I didn't talk to you guys after that practice, man, but the excitement about that and getting that many snaps off, I believe it was 107 snaps on the day, the transitions from special teams to offense, to be able to go in at halftime, to be able to come out and get those guys to come back and rally, get a good first half from the offense, a great second half from the defense, highly competitive. You guys enjoyed it. I know D-Led kept asking who won the game and what was the score, and nobody had an answer for him. And I was thinking about what I was going to say when he asked me that, because I have no idea. I just feel like the Falcons won the day.
Coach, that was also the first time that we saw Kevin King, I think, operating at safety. We saw that again tonight. Can you explain a little bit about the thought process there?
Just the versatility of the young man, right? We could play him at a little bit at corner. We've seen him make plays in the first game against Miami, and we've seen him play that throughout camp. He has a little versatility to go play some dime position for us, which you've seen in camp and our practices, some of our packages that we have. And then today, you put him at safety a little bit with the experience that we have with him, to see him go back there and be able to move around. And when you create that kind of versatility for yourself, you create a lot of help for us in all the different roles. So to give the guy the best chance to be on the football team in any fashion, I just think that's a great job by our defensive coaches to get him ready to play all those different spots. Particularly a guy like Kevin King, coming off all the injury history that he's had and some of the tough times he had in the National Football League, and to watch him go play with complete passion and fun.
Coach, now that they've changed the rule, I think it's been a couple of years now, as far as making the cuts at the end, all of the cuts at one time, is it harder, or does the pros outweigh the cons in that from what it used to be?
I believe it's happened, probably was the last 3 or 4 years they've done that, since COVID, I believe. But I actually like it that way better, because you give every young man a chance to go out there and prove himself, to give him that fair shot, that opportunity. There was nothing worse than cutting a guy that you had planned on playing in the fourth, and you can't because you had to get down to a certain number on the roster. So giving a guy a chance to go out there and get some reps, some game-like reps, to put film on for other teams, to talk about being on a different team. I talk to these guys about putting on the shield in his National Football League and how important that is. I learned that from Herm Edwards a long time ago. But to give them opportunity to see other people, to give them opportunities to advance in their careers, or to go home and get, I talked about it with our owner today, to go home and get ready for when your number's called or your name's called at some point in the season. Those are the things that we value, right? It's no different than what our culture is. It's no different what our ethos is when we put people first. So the more time you get people to be around us, the better.
This is also the first time that we get a chance to talk to you a little bit about AJ Terrell's extension. Just your overall thoughts, and you saw him come in as a rookie, and how is he the same and different from what he was then?
First, I got to say this: I don't even think anybody knew he was up, and that was the most beautiful thing about the whole process. We're behind the scenes. We're talking about a contract. You got his agent working with Terry. We got our money people working with Terry, talking to his agents. All this stuff is going on. And all AJ did was just show up to work, play the corner position, lead the defensive backs, give us great energy at practice, tackle, knock down passes, get better, go to work and just play. So, the excitement for me being here when we drafted him and that process, that was my draft pick. It wasn't Terry's. We got to make sure we say that. Terry did not draft AJ. I drafted him. When we drafted him back then, it was you knew what kind of man he was, and you knew what kind of resolve he had. I remember giving him a bunch of stuff about getting beat in a national championship game. Who knew it was going to be Justin Jefferson and Chase, right? But and then you knew he had some kind of fight to him, just a certain toughness, and he's done nothing but show us that since he's been here. So when a young man is rewarded for doing those things, and we can't thank Arthur Blank and the Blank family enough for what they're able to do to reward the guys that really deserve it in our community that's been a part of what we do. It is absolutely outstanding, Tori. I could talk about AJ all night if you asked me to, because I'm proud of him. His family came. It was a beautiful occasion up in our office. Got a chance to walk around with those guys. Remember, it was COVID, so we didn't get a chance to meet them back then. So it was fired up for him to do that. When a young man tells you that's one of his best days of his life, that's absolutely outstanding. And his teammates and how they cheered for him and how they were excited for him, that was just different than I've seen in most places.
Coach, how large now is the decision for the third quarterback, one now at the end of preseason, and for the flexibility of guys you might want to pick up when other cuts are made around the league?
You're always going to scour. We got the nosiest scouts in the National Football League. I talk about Ryan Place and Cal Smith and that crew, Hakeem and all those guys, LaSalle, it's all of them, so much. And I know right now Ryan Pace is looking at he's going to come in there and have a fullback on my list. We don't even use a fullback, but he's going to have it going on my desk tomorrow. That's just how he is. He goes and he looks and he finds ways to get people that are better. He finds ways to keep turning the bottom of the roster along with the top, as we've seen this last couple of weeks. And I got all the confidence in the world about guys looking around the league, finding people. And then it's up to Terry and I to make those decisions on who can we bring in, how can we make space, whether it's now, whether it's later, whatever the case may be. And I really appreciate it about those guys.
Yeah, Coach, just again, could you give us the rationale behind this philosophy that we saw this exhibition season to not play people? We saw a contrast today where they decided to play people, and you all haven't played people, and we're trying to figure out in this new age world how you get ready for the season by not playing people.
Yeah, I think we all are led. And for me personally, and what we've spoken about as a group, because we do everything collectively, but I hold more value in the joint practices, the mimic scrimmage that we're able to symbolize and do those things. And hopefully, moving forward, you want to have 4 of those joint practices, one set at home, one set in the road, which we'll be able to do moving forward because of our new facility that we have. We'll be able to get the exhibition game where some of our younger players can go show themselves and put themselves on the brightest stage in order to put themselves in best position to make the football team, to get them out there. And those are the ways where you can mitigate injury of losing people that you're going to count on when it's time to win the real games. Like I mentioned before, you don't get mulligans for losing guys on a team that you're going to count on. And I got a lot of respect for this game, that for the guys that we put out there. If I'm putting you out there, it's for an opportunity to do something at a higher level than we think you can do within practice. Just no different than the first game when we had our 2 safeties go out there and get a little bit of time. We get one injured, we pull the other one, because we wanted those 2 to really go out there and battle for that position to find out who can separate themselves. So we'll play people based on those decisions, and we'll continue to have that philosophy as long as I'm fortunate enough to be the head coach of the Atlanta Falcons.
Raheem, I know the next few days you're going to be working on the roster and finalizing those things, but for the players, what is next week going to look like, especially as it relates to preparation for Pittsburgh?
It'll still be a training camp philosophy for us. You know, you still got the 2 weeks before that point, or at least a week next week. You got to get ready. You make the cut downs. You have a different set of practice because of the amount of people that you'll have in some of those practices. So you have more of a low volume, but you get to get some stuff. And then as you put those people back on your roster, you better pick up a different intensity with a medium volume or a high volume. You get 2 of those with a jog through. That'll get us right into that mini bye for the players, get them out of the building a little bit, and come back and get ready for Pittsburgh. David did not bring me in the water. He does not care about me at all, guys.
Raheem, do you have any updates on Nate Landman and Caden Ellis? They missed the scrimmage the other day.
They did, and I'm going to mess this up, so I'll tell you later, but they definitely both are day-to-day, and I can't remember exactly what Kate. You can go ahead and blurt, David, because I know you know. There you go.
Were you in the Jacksonville huddle?
I gave him a break. I was in the breakdown with the receivers today because of the Trammell, who played here. You guys know well. He came out to L.A. with us last year, and I broke it down with their receivers. I did. Guilty.
Thanks, Ra.
Coach, some guys will stay with you. Some guys will be picked up around the league. But what is your approach to the sobering reality that this is the last time some of these guys will ever put on football pads in their lives?
That's the part I always talk about. It's tough. You know, that's the hardest deal when you're a coach. That's the hardest deal when you're a personnel guy. And that's the hardest deal that's why we value so much of sitting down with them and telling them, being brutally honest, but at the same time being compassionate about what we think their beliefs are and how they can further move on. And all you could tell them is your opinion, right? Then you have players that are going to go out and prove us wrong. And then you're going to have players that go out and find ways, but they'll always respect the fact what they got, the open and the honest communication from the Atlanta Falcons. And we'll continue to give people that because we owe them that.
Coach, earlier this week you talked about the wide receiver room and trying to find a niche, kind of find their spots. Only 9 catches today, but how much you kind of pull from the guys that did run out on the field today as to maybe their role?
You know, the Rook made a couple tough catches over the middle, which is really exciting. You know, Chris Blair came out today and had another couple exciting catches. They make challenges for us and who you want to keep and how many can you keep and some of those different things. But we had a couple different perimeter runs with some of those guys and watching them block a little bit on the edge. For the wideouts, in our division, is not all about just the receptions. You got to be able to put your face on people in order to create some runs, do some different things, and you got to be able to enjoy the process of those guys going out there and learning and doing what they can do in every single time. So they always make it tough on you, and we'll get together in the next couple of days and we'll kind of figure that out where we want to go next. I'm out of here. You guys get Taylor Heineke right now. We got a question.
More. I was looking to see if anyone was over here. You mentioned Chris Blair. Just what has he shown you over this entire process, training camp, and all the preseason games?
I've been really proud of Chris Blair. When you got here, you really saw him work. And I remember walking around the building not really knowing his name. And I just noticed that he was one of the guys that was in the makeshift weight room that we had in our indoor facility right from the beginning. And he was in there for a long time, and he was in there with A.J. Terrell every day. And then I come out and I watch him run sprints in his own before we even hired a full-time strength coach was able to be in the building. And he was in there working every single day. And he just walked by me. And I was always too embarrassed to ask him, hey, what's your name? And then OTA day started. And he went out there and he made plays and he ran routes. And he was able to take coaching. And he was able to do the right things all the time. And I remember going out there in the OTAs, making some plays in shorts. And you're not really wanting to give him too much credit because it's not as competitive he wanted to be. And then he got the camp, switched positions, was able to do a little bit more on that side, learn some more stuff, make himself a little bit more versatile. And then I watched him get in the games. I watched him have a mistake, bounce back from a mistake, come out, really lead the receiver unit and what he was able to do, going out there and have a really big game last week, become a captain for us in the preseason, and do some really nice things. And those kind of kids that may always make it tough on you in these times.